You're listening to Reignite, a podcast about beautiful vacation destinations that ultimately try to kill you. I'm Frankie.
And I'm Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
Before we go after Meridian, we have some planets that we need to explore. Today, we're focused on Kadara, a charming little town full of murder, gang warfare, and toxic water that burns through your shields with the slightest touch. Ryder must work with Reyes and Sloane, though, more accurately, Kaitis, to raise Kadara's viability and build a new home for the initiative. It's not as easy as completing a fetch quest or two, though there is no shortage of those. There is a murder to solve, drugs to get off the streets, a party to crash, and a power struggle to solve. Who will come out as ruler of Kadara Port?
You know, when you say it cheery, it doesn't make it any less, deadly and stuff. Just throwing it out there. Just sharing that feedback right off the bat. I did appreciate your customer service voice, though. It was very good.
It's the tourism board voice.
Yeah, that's all the same.
I signed up to work for the Kadara tourism board. They're having a lot of trouble getting people to come out and vacation.
I wonder why.
In the death caves.
Someday we'll get to go to a planet that isn't trying to kill us. Someday.
Why would you want to do that? Where's your sense of adventure?
I'm tired. I'm just so tired. We'll get into the meat of this mission in a bit. But first, as always, we should chat about our check-ins. And I was actually caught off guard by the few significant ones we had. To start off, specifically the one with Suvi. I always check in with because for a little inside baseball, I always save when I come back to the ship. So I'm right there in the cockpit area, essentially, every time I turn off a play session. And so the first thing I do when I boot it back up is check in with Callow and check in with Suvi. And when you check in with Suvi, she asks if you want some tea. And you get to have a little chat with Suvi. And we've had these character moments with Suvi before, but this is the first kind of really intimate, warm, and intimate in a friendship sort of way, warm moment. And it was really nice. It's another human moment on this ship, which I really love when we get these.
I also love this moment with Suvi. It's very much about her personally without being about her connection to religion, because I feel like a lot of the conversations we've had with her have been about her religious beliefs and how they tie into science. But this conversation is specifically about her guilt over leaving her family behind to pursue scientific discovery, and how her family was right there. They loved her. They supported her. Why did she feel that she had to leave? And depending on what your writer's personality is, I chose for my writer to say that they're still with her. They still support her. Even though they're gone now, they're with her in her heart, and they're the reason that she's out here to begin with. They fostered her love of science. They encouraged her to become the woman that she is.
Yeah, I chose the same option to tell her that they're in every discovery she makes. Every scientific thing she does is a reflection of her family that supported her and pushed her to do it, even if she's doing things as dumb as licking foreign rocks. But yeah, I took the kind of sentimental angle too, because it's true, right? If you have a good relationship with family as you pursue trade, especially in the trade that your family did, there's that transitive kind of outlook on it, and they even though they're not there to say supportive things, it's easy to understand why they would be supportive just based on what we know about them, based on what Suvi's told us.
I do want to point out something that Suvi says that I want to expand upon, not specifically in Andromeda, but in all kind of games like this. Suvi says, I keep having these thoughts. I'm never going to see that again. I'm never going to taste this again. And those feel kind of senseless. And in this scenario, they've all chosen to leave behind the lives that would allow them to revisit these sensations, to get access to their favorite tea, to watch their favorite movie, to read their favorite book. I play a lot of games where a main character is displaced from their world and are often stuck in a completely different world, often a fantasy world, and they come from a world where there is no magic. And it strikes me as so strange that the writers never think for a moment that the main character is going to, miss these specific things. They're going to just fall in line with this magical world and never think to themselves, I'm never going to taste my mother's special recipe ever again. I'm never going to hear my favorite song ever again because it doesn't exist here.
Right.
And it boggles me that nobody thinks about that when writing these storylines, but here they do think about it. And I think it's really important because when you're making a decision to upend your life and just leave it behind in the way that these characters have, those are things that you have to think about, the things that you're leaving behind.
For sure. I mean, I know I have friends who've moved to other countries to teach or to do special programs, and like that can be far enough, right? If you've never traveled outside the US. But this is that on another level, because like even if you go to another country, Spotify still exists, you know, there is technology that can keep us connected. And I'm sure they have that kind of stuff here, but this goes beyond that, right? Like you can, with the right resources, make your favorite dish, but it's definitely not going to be the same way it was because you're in a completely different place where those things probably won't exist, right? Like, what are the odds of the same exact kind of wheat or mushroom or vegetables or anything will exist on these planets? It's possible you'll find something that you can synthesize into a similar item in a similar way that, like, with gluten-free products now are similar. I say they taste of the memory of bread, right? And, like,
they were in the same room as bread was being made in.
But, like, in here, this is that on a broader scale, because like it'll probably taste similar to what you remember those things tasting like, because you can, you know, cooking is science on some level, but like it's never going to be exact unless you have those exact ingredients, and we don't know that they're here, you know. And I think
like sous vide is definitely never going to have this specific tea ever again,
right? Because it just doesn't exist, and unless that exact plant exists somewhere in this world, which it won't, she'll never get to have it. Yeah. And she could probably find something similar, especially being as smart as she is. But yeah, it's definitely like it's like, you know, or even your favorite movies, your favorite books, you could have brought them with you. But even that, no one else besides the people you came with will know that stuff. But it's also something you can look at as being excited for, right? Like I get to now share this stuff. What I have left, like the idea that she's sharing this tea with Ryder is huge, right? This is the last of this tea she has. And it's that much more special because she's sharing it with someone.
100%. Like, if I were in this position, I would be so excited to share all of my favorite books with Jal. Jal would be ride or die for Tamara Pierce. I can guarantee you. Jal would read all of the Emelon books and just be like, I love them all so much. And he would cry over every single book, and I'd be like, I know.
Meanwhile, I'd want to share with Drax some of my favorite video games, right? Like, especially like initially I would think that like first person shooters, but honestly, I think like the narrative kind of family oriented stuff, he'd probably also love.
Oh, he would really like Stardew.
He would love Stardew Valley.
He would really like it.
He'd get too into the mining stuff, but like he would also like the other things too.
He'd be like, I can go kill monsters, and when I'm tired, I can go back to my house and water my plants.
Exactly. like a good Krogan grandpa.
Exactly. Oh man, we should do an episode about that at one point where it's like, what would you share with a specific character?
That could be fun, yeah.
Yeah. If any of you out there have something specific that you'd like to share with the character, please tell us about it, tweet it at us. I'm very interested in this idea now. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Same.
That's all I really have to say about Sous Vide. I just really appreciated that someone in the writer's room thought this is a thing that we would have to contend with.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about Callow a little bit. It's not a huge conversation, but I do think that it bears commenting on. He's really optimistic. I actually expected him to be a lot sadder over having lost Reka and a bunch of other Solarians, but he's actually really optimistic. He's just so happy that Perchero is free of the Ket and that they're heading home to the Nexus and that his people are safe. And yes, it's really sad that we lost Reka because a lot of Solarians signed up because of her, because they believed in her. And I really appreciate and value Callow. And I'm really sad that he's not a romance option because I think he's got a lot of heart. I think he's super kind. I think he's really loving. You overhear him talking to Suvi about this woman that she keeps seeing him with on the Nexus, and how like he's always short on credits. It's because this woman is the widow of one of his pilots,
Mm-hmm.
and she lost her wife to the Scourge, and Callow feels that it's his responsibility to take care of her because someone that was under his jurisdiction lost their life. And I think that's so kind and wonderful of him. And Callow deserves love.
Callow has quickly become one of my favorite Solarians, and that's saying something. But yeah, no, I agree. BioWare, let me romance a Solarian. Do it.
Let me romance Callow specifically. And Kirihee.
And Kirihee, that's what I'm saying. In the
There's
third
only two.
game, when Kirihee shows up, if I could romance him and flirt with him, you bet your ass I would.
I would also romance Reika in a world in which Reika survives.
But yeah, no, I'm glad you brought that up. I think it's all worth talking about. I think Callow is one of the better written Solarian characters, especially when compared to the other Solarian that we spend a lot of time with in this game, Tan, who is also well written, I'll be clear, just terrible person.
This is still a Tan hate account.
Yes. Before we move on to Drac, I do want to mention briefly that depending on where you are on your movie quest, if you talk to Vetra mentions
I did that.
Vetra mentions that Suvi is sweet, but her snack sucks. And if you want a good snack, you're gonna on Kadara Port get us some popcorn. And then you have this whole conversation about, is this the same kind of popcorn from like Earth?
There is popcorn that is good for everybody, and Grixin that she can eat. Grixin is similar to popcorn, but it is Turian friendly. So popcorn, which is for everybody, is contraband that somebody smuggled along with them. And Ryder said contraband popcorn. And Vetra responds, it's light and people will pay a lot of money for it. So.
And I just love this conversation. It's so stupid. It's the best.
Yeah. I really love the movie night quests. Even though they're fetch quests and they take like 2 seconds to complete, it's always another thing.
Yeah, and the dialogue is just great.
Just very cute. Because the next thing you're gonna find out is like somebody else is gonna be like, I hear that there's movie night. Here is my contribution that you actually need to go get for us.
Yeah.
Someone's gonna send you after a couch the next thing you know, and you're gonna be like, is my room not good enough? Seriously? I have to go get us a couch? I'm exaggerating. You do not have to go get a couch.
That's good. I mean, Liam already has one. What do I need to go get one for?
That's true. You just drag Liam's couch into the room.
Exactly.
I was just trying to not spoil for you the other things you have to get for movie night.
I appreciate it.
I was like, what's something that's not on the list but is equally ridiculous? So yes, the movie night quest is progressing. Drac gives us a little check-in that the colony calmed in to confirm that the scouts returned, and he talks about how he won't forget that Ryder chose the Krogan first in our playthroughs. I think we both chose the Krogan.
Correct.
And I think this is a really important moment because Drac tells us that the Krogan are always seen as cannon fodder, and this is the first time in his long memory that someone chose the Krogan over a different race and like put Krogan before anything else and didn't do it just because their weapons or anything like that. Did it because they were people who needed help.
Yeah. Drac is a big softie and is really grateful that we saved his scouts and that we're putting the Krogan first in a way where we show that we truly care about them. And hell yeah, of course. I mean, we also hate genocide, so we will always choose.
It's true.
We will also always choose the Krogan first, but that's neither here nor there.
I mean, that was a very hard decision choosing between Rika and the Krogan scouts. But like, I had to look at Drac every day.
Yeah.
Like, how can I tell him that I let his people die?
Yeah. I can't even imagine what that choice is like when you have him with you.
Oh, he makes it very clear what he expects you to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine. Our last check-in is with Lexi, who is not happy with us, and specifically not happy with Sam's decision to suggest to kill us to get us out of that trap.
She is big mad.
Yeah. Specifically saying that, like, she doesn't trust Sam. Sam's supposed to protect you. Why would he suggest to kill you? it's just, and even death, even though temporary, you're still dying. It still affects your body and your mind and is not good on almost every level.
Yeah. When Sam counters back saying, like, if Ryder dies, I die. It, like, doesn't benefit me to let Ryder die. Lexi responds with, your lines of code, you can't die, which is incredibly harsh.
Yes.
And as the conversation progresses, they do make up towards the end.
Yeah, and Lexi eventually apologizes for that comment.
Yeah. And I appreciate that as an after effect of this conversation, Lexi and Sam together take a crash course in AI history and they, like, learn about it together.
Yeah.
And that's where Lexi realizes how Sam is different from the Geth, because Sam really does depend on Ryder to grow and learn and to experience the world. Without Ryder, Sam can't do anything.
Yep.
So, like, now Lexi is not so concerned about Sam getting trigger happy with Ryder's life.
Right.
But it was a big moment.
I am a little disappointed, though, that there's no comment option after when Lexi calls Sam out. Sam goes, I would never hurt the Pathfinder. And you can't, like, make some kind of sarcastic comment like, again, or something. Because, like, he did hurt the Pathfinder. He killed you. Like, I have a morbid sense of humor. And so I would have chimed in there after that.
The way that I concluded the conversation was, I will find another party trick.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I did the same.
So I feel like that hits that little morbid humor button.
It does. But it's just very funny to me. Like, in my mind, I'm giving Sam side eye for saying I would never hurt the Pathfinder. Because it's like, that ship has sailed a little bit.
Maliciously.
Right. Exactly. That's the missing keyword.
I would never willingly, with cruel intentions in my heart. Oh, Sam. Such a good boy.
Yep.
Sam is the goodest boy.
It's true.
I also did a stop over at Aya, but I figure we can save that for a different conversation.
I didn't make any stops. I think after this playthrough, like before the next thing we do, I'll probably hit the Nexus and Aya to do a few things. Like, I believe Gil has a mission on Aya and stuff or something.
Gil has something on Eos.
Oh, Eos. That's right. To meet Jill. Gil and Jill.
Gil and Jill. But I also popped over to Aya to talk to Axel because Moshe arranged it.
That's right. Yeah.
You should do that before going to Eos.
I will.
Not for any particular reason or anything. Anyway. Oh, do you have a new pet now?
I do have a new pet now. I forgot to put that in the notes, but I was able to finish the mission where you were trying to trap something, and it turns out to be a space hamster, a different space hamster from the one that you had as Shepherd, but it's still a space hamster. And you have two courses of action. You can pursue a line where you end up setting it free on a planet, or you can keep it as a pet. You know, I kept it as a pet.
Yeah, I did too. I was just like, oh, look at my little buddy.
You can have all the cereal he wants.
He made happy squeaking noises. How could I not keep him?
It said it in the subtitles, happy squeaking noises. That's how I knew.
I know that it's like a little throwaway and it's a nod and it's something to like make fans of the original trilogy happy, but it was cute as hell and I loved it, okay?
It was very cute. Also, that high-res space hamster is adorable as heck.
He's so cute. So I don't care if it was pandering. You leave me and my space hamster alone.
Exactly.
Don't you talk to me and my space hamster ever again. All right. Oh, I do also want to talk about one other thing. Half of your emails are your crew just being like, hey, are you okay?
Yeah, everybody checking in on you. And like, considering all the times we complained about how no one checks in on Shepard until like the end of the third game, I appreciate that we're not even halfway through this game yet and people are already checking on you to see if you're doing okay.
Like, hey, you died for a second time. Are you okay? Yeah. Lexi sends you an email being like, hey, you're under a lot of stress. Have you considered knitting?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes, Lexi, I have considered knitting. Should we start a stitching bitch? I'd really like to do that.
Yeah, I mean, even like we're not gonna talk about every one of these conversations, but as you talk to everyone on the crew, they also have a comment about that experience with the Archon or something to say about the situation. And like with Cora, like was worried and concerned. And like when you start to poke fun, she goes, I don't want to lose another Pathfinder, and gets really upset because she lost Alec, who she cared about as well.
Liam has a funny one, but we're not going to get it until after we do his loyalty mission.
Okay.
Liam's is my favorite.
Okay. But I just like that you can kind of talk to everyone and they check in with you verbally too, not just those emails.
This game does a lot better at recognizing that you as the player have just witnessed something maybe a little traumatic.
Just a little bit.
Your character has gone through it a bit.
Just a bit.
And it seems callous when the people that are supposed to be close to you just like do not acknowledge.
Yeah.
That you fucking died.
No, yeah. I mean, in Mass Effect 2, more people spend time in being angry that you didn't reach out to them right away than they do about the fact that you died.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I have a lot of opinions and feelings about that, but that's neither here nor there. Let's talk about Kadara now.
Yes. So we're back to Kadara Port, and we're trying to settle on Kadara, which is bold considering this is where the exiles of the Nexus went.
This is where everyone hates us.
Yeah. And when we go back, we can check in with Reyes. We can pick up a bunch of other missions. One of the first early missions you get when you're back is in the slums. You run into a doctor operating on sick people out of a cargo container.
Before you continue on that,
yes,
I do just want to kind of outline what the missions on Kadara look like.
Sure.
So we have this chunk of missions under the header Settling Kadara.
Yeah.
We have to raise viability up to 40%. We have to activate all the monoliths and the vaults. We have to help Dr. Nakamoto get Oblivion off the streets. We have to work with Reyes. We have to check with Kaitis. There's a list that we have to hit. And then there are other missions too. There's a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about all of them because it's just there's fetch quests, it's all of that stuff. Like I just don't think there's a lot to talk about.
We did with Vold, Eos, Havarl, we're going to talk about the things that we think were interesting, we have something to say about, and if you feel like we missed something that you thought was interesting, reach out to us. Tell us what you wanted to hear about, and either we'll just have that conversation by email or we'll bring it up in a future episode.
Yeah, for sure. And to start, another reason why we're not talking about every single mission is because this, and take a shot, I guess, if you're drinking along, because I'm going to mention Inquisition again. This has the same problem as Inquisition, where it's a giant game with arguably too many quests. I appreciate that they give you a lot to do, but I wouldn't say 90%. I'd say 50% of the fetch quests in this game could probably get cut. Even 60. There's just a lot of go here, get the thing. And that doesn't really do anything. I get that you want to give people experience and action and other things, but it's just, they feel kind of pointless a lot of the time.
I would like to point out that you don't need to complete all of these quests to get 100% viability.
Right, of course not.
So there is kind of a value in there being a lot of them.
Yeah. So
that way you can get to that 100% viability without having to worry about getting every single quest.
Yeah, it's more of a thing of obsessive people with OCD like yours truly. You want to clear the map, and there's no benefit to clearing the map in this game. And that was a problem I first noticed in Inquisition, which is built mission on the map wise very similarly. It's the Hinterlands problem, as we've referred to many a time here and in other places.
Oh, the Hinterlands.
Gee, I wonder if we're ever going to do Dragon Quest on this show, Dragon Age on this show. Anyway.
Are we going to do Dragon Quest?
I mean, we could. I love those RPGs, the 3 or 2 of them that I've played out of 11. Anyway. Well, now I can't edit that out, so fuck you. Anyway. So the Dr. Nakamoto quest, so there's an antibiotic that he discovered that also in high doses acted like a drug, ended up getting spread around by Sloan as a drug to make money, bad stuff all around. And he asks you to go find the original recipe essentially and destroy it and try and rid Kadara of it. So, and when you go to do that, you encounter his old partner or someone who claims to be his old partner. And is no, he's lying. You got to believe me. And I hate this quest because I barely know Dr. Nakamoto. He seems nice. He's very kind and we have a good conversation. But then I go meet this other Asari whose name I can't remember, which is the only reason I'm not saying it.
Dr. Ferenth.
Ferenth. But I don't know either of these two fools, and I have to believe one of them because the game is making me have to choose one of them. And it's like, so I ended up siding with the person who gave me the quest, with Dr. Nakamoto. And when you get back to him, it turns out that was the right choice. He was lying, and he's actually genuine, as far as we know, but we don't
or
actually.
Is he?
Yeah, like, it's just, I appreciate that they want to give you like a weighted decision, but you know so little about these characters, it just feels rushed and like poor writing to me. Like, I just don't know why I should believe anyone.
So I don't wholly disagree with you, but I do want to point out something that I think maybe you missed, and probably a lot of people missed. Above Dr. Nakamoto is like his private office, so to speak. It's another cargo crate, and you can go in there and access his terminal, and there's a journal entry called Atonement, where he's talking about how he has to make up for like what he did. And to me, that implied that he's been telling the truth about Oblivion. So that's why I sided with him, because I felt like I got the truth from that. And if you do all the full exploring, then you can find these hints towards who you should believe. But not everybody's going to do that. And also, some of these things are hard to find. So there really should have been another element to this mission where you can kind of deduce from either materials that are more available in plain sight or other people that you can talk to, like other people in the Outcasts who can maybe give you insight on when Dr. Nakamoto was working for Sloan. And, like, who's telling the truth about why Dr. Nakamoto left.
Yeah, no, I missed all of that. I just did the mission straight up because the mission doesn't direct you towards anything else.
No, it doesn't.
And so, yeah. So I hear you, and that does make sense, but it doesn't change my opinion on it just because there was no incentive to find that stuff. I was given no reason to, other than blanketly exploring, which on a timeline, I'm not going to, like, playing this section, we don't always talk about this, but this section took me 8 to 10 hours to do because I just didn't know where to go or what to do. I was running back and forth. You have to leave the planet a few times to trigger things. Like, it was a long section. Most of our sections tend to not be this long. And so I didn't do that extra exploring. And so it's a bummer that you miss out on that and kind of shrug without it. But like,
honestly, I think it was too hard to find.
Yeah. And like the way she acts when you encounter her, his partner, like, she is indignant and stuff. And so, like, the game kind of tells you that way, but it's not clear, right? She could just be pissed that you're blaming her, which she would have her right to be if she were telling the truth, which she's not. So, yeah.
No, I'm with you on that. We both chose to believe Dr. Nakamoto in that case. And we got Oblivion off the streets.
We sure did.
The murder mystery that Sam is so insistent that we solve.
So insistent. Oh, by the way, who did you take with you through your missions?
Actually, Drac and PB, because Jal fucking hates this place.
I took Drac and Cora for the same reason.
Jal hates this place. I was like, I can't be doing this to you. You complain every 10 seconds.
Also, I may start taking Drac and Cora more together because they're just obnoxious bros together. Like, they just compete, they compare battle scars and, like, gun technique, and they're constantly ragging on each other. It's amazing.
Drac and PB are much the same. Drac is a little more fatherly towards PB.
Okay.
Because I think he sees PB as, like, a young him.
Uh-huh.
And PB has a long lifespan the way he does, and he's also often giving her advice on how to handle having a long lifespan. Like, I'm gonna tell you now, you should take notes, because when you're 1400 years old, you're not gonna remember what happened when you were 200.
God, that breaks my brain. I can barely remember what happened 15 years ago.
I just think Drac and PB are so funny together because of their personalities.
Yeah.
And Drac is insistent that PB must have Krogan in her bloodline, and she's like, oh no, my mom made it exclusively with other Asari until it came to me, in which my dad was an Elcor. And he was like, absolutely not. I refuse to believe that.
You were lied to, child.
they're just so funny together. I took a lot of like clips of their conversations because they were so funny.
Yeah, a lot of it was like, again, a comedian that we don't like as much anymore, but the Christopher Titus, like, best friends find each other by
Mm-hmm.
giving each other shit. Like, that's mostly what Cora and Drac do. Like, like, he would make fun of her, like, gun stance, and then she would be like, well, when you're only my age, it's much easier. I'm sure you have to hold the gun this way and brace it because you're so old. Like, just that kind of ribbing and stuff. It was really great.
Yeah. One such conversation with Drac and PB that I really liked was Drac being like, "Why do you use such a little pistol?" And PB's like, "I like being light on my feet." And he goes, "You have biotics. You could make me light on my feet."
That's very good.
I just love them so much.
Very
They're
good.
so silly. Drac is just a good character to have along. I think he brings out the silliness in everyone.
Continues the true fact of the Mass Effect franchise that the Krogan characters are the best characters.
I love my space grandpa.
They're the best squad mates. So you were mentioning the murder mystery. So
Yes.
we're working with Reyes to try and solve it. And it turns out through Reyes's investigations and suspicions, it is proven that these aren't actually outcasts who are doing the murdering.
He, first of all, doesn't think that it's the charlatan.
Nope. Gee, I wonder why.
He immediately he immediately gets it in his head that it's the Rokar and sends Ryder off to investigate the home of the last victim. And it's a Krogan who had their head plate peeled away, which is horrible. It's such a horrible way to go. So we find a lot of clues in this space. There's Angaran blood, Angaran footprints. There's a knife with a Rokar phrase carved into it. And Sam is very hesitant to be like, "Yep, it's definitely the Rokar." Sam is just like, "If you put these together, it could possibly be the Rokar."
Yeah, clearly not the outcome Sam wanted.
Yeah, Sam was just like, "I mean, maybe. There's no hard and fast evidence.
Except for
I
the Rokar
guess."
blade. But besides that,
Like, who knows for sure if it was definitely a Rokar blade just by looking at it. He was like, "You can't possibly know." Like, maybe somebody stole it. You don't know. And I just want to be like, "Sam, there's no CSI out here."
yeah, like,
All right.
chill.
But yeah, it does turn out to be the Rokar who are killing Milky Way supporters and members of the Milky Way to make their point. And you know what? I get it. With a lot of members of the Rokar, they join because they're afraid of aliens because of what the Ket did. I get it. I completely understand.
Yeah, but that's not how we do business around here. So, and you try and reason with their leader. Of course, it goes bad, and then you have to kill them all.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah. But fortunately, Reyes is there for us.
Yeah, lucky us. How convenient.
He's such a good man.
Yeah. The other mention the next mission I want to mention briefly. There's not a lot to talk about, but there's you come across these people who are like kind of out of their minds. You pick up a transmission. It's a Solarian, a Krogan, and an Asari, and you talk to the Solarian for a little bit, and he starts to like lose grip on reality. And you track the signal. It turns out there's these scientists who are playing mind games using technology on these people and experimenting on them. Surprise, surprise, these evil scientists used to work for Cerberus.
Of course they did.
I do love them shit-talking the, what was the name of the program?
Project Lazarus.
Project Lazarus, and how dumb it was, because that's legit.
Yeah,
on the
no,
outside
that's
looking
fine.
in, like, it just sounds dumb. But yeah, you confront them, and you can either ease the pain of the people being experimented on, or turn the weapon on these evil scientists. And you bet your ass I made them suffer. I turned
You
tech.
did.
I turned the tech back on them. This was unacceptable. How dare you? And so I gave them a taste of their own medicine.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I didn't do that. I thought about it.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to, but also at the same time, I knew Sam told us that doing that could hurt the people that were already affected.
Yeah.
So I chose to like make it easier on them and to like put them at ease and basically ruin these people's research. Also because Ryder doesn't really know the horrors that Cerberus has committed. So we do, because we've been there. So Ryder would have no reason to have such a strong hatred of them. So I had to kind of like meta about not meta.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
It does. But like for me, it was less about Cerberus specifically and more that they were evil scientists hurting these innocent people. And I was just like, enough of this nonsense. I think for me, I've encountered so much of this kind of people hurting other people with no thought of their humanity in this world already, between the Ket and everything else and Exaltation. I was like, I can't, like, I think I'd had it up to here with experiments and I just wanted it to end it, regardless of what the overall outcome would be. It is interesting when you turn the machine on themselves. They're like, what are you doing? Stop messing with that. And then they start to like slowly like, wait, what's happening? Why does my head hurt? And like, then they start to do the rambling that the other aliens were doing.
Harsh, Matt.
Yeah. I was ruthless in that moment. The next mission is another mission for Reyes. Reyes has an issue with one of his shipments, his smuggling shipments, and his issue is his ex, who apparently took that shipment and, of course, ropes you in to help him. And, of course, you're a sucker with a big S on your forehead and agree. Yes, for you to meet him at the bar and you go, as long as you're buying, I don't trust you. He's like, I would never leave you with the tab again.
Except. So I love working with Reyes. I think he's fun. I think he's funny. He's got the Han Solo vibe. He's
do like
just
the
like,
character, yeah.
I'm so smooth and great, except when I'm not. Oh my god, this is so terrible. I hate it.
Gee, you like a vigilante who's a badass, except when he's not, and then he's really awkward. That doesn't sound like your type at all.
He tries so hard to be smooth. He really does. And he succeeds like 98% of the time.
Yeah. He's got that Zorro vibe a little bit too.
Yeah. I do love this interaction with Reyes and Umi, the bartender of Prala's song, where she says, yeah, I saw Zia talking to a Solarian. Maybe it was the charlatan. Looking right at Reyes.
Yeah,
and Ryder is just like, do.
Yeah, no idea. Not a clue.
No thoughts, just vibes.
Our incredible himbo, or thembo, as it were.
Ryder's just like, move your body right next to mine, feel the beat almost in time. Do. What? Do I need to punch someone now? Is it my turn?
But we get the details of who Zia was talking to, and we're able to intercept some information and trace us and get information on where Zia's supposed to be meeting with this person. And so we go to that location. And surprise, it's a trap.
Yep, it's an ambush, baby. Because the local smuggling union got together and decided no more.
God, so dumb. Like, I love this game, but when the writing is goofy and bad, it's so goofy and bad that it almost comes right back around. But like, you show up and there's nothing here, and Reyes is like, there's nothing here, and you're like, gee, I wonder if it's a trap.
And then it's a trap.
Yeah. But yeah, the local smugglers union had enough of Reyes. They want him gone, and so they turn on him, and you have to kill everybody. Joy.
Yeah.
And then I got a little pissy with Reyes. I was like, I'm tired of cleaning up your messes. Why can't you tell me what's going on? More on that later.
In his defense, he didn't actually know what was going on this time around.
No, that's true.
In his defense, he did not know. I did receive an email from him after that mission saying, just so you know, my taste in women has vastly improved.
Oh, yeah, I didn't get that.
Well, have you been flirting with him this entire time?
Nope.
That's why.
Interested. Like, I like him, but like PB, I'm just like, you are immature and an ass. I'm good.
I think he's fun to flirt with.
Probably, just I don't know. Didn't grab me. But yeah, and then this kind of, if you've done everything that came before, kind of sets off a roll of actions that will lead to you settling. Important to note also, just because we'll probably come back to this mission later, but you get to move the Spender mission forward on Kadara, which I did. But yeah, so after you leave. You get an email from Rhea saying, "Hey, I'm going to this great party. You should come. It's Sloane's party. I totally want you to come with me because I just want to hang out with you." And of course you agree.
And for me, I'm like, is it a date?
Yeah. And then you turn up and he introduces you to his Angaran buddy and then goes, "I'll be right back," and takes off. And you're left.
And just disappears for the rest of the party.
Like, ugh.
What did you do at the party? Who did you talk to?
So I talked to Sloane, who was still an asshole. I talked to the, I can't remember her name.
Kima.
Kima. I talked to Kima, who I wanted to flirt with, and the game wouldn't let me. Flirt with.
She's so cool.
Let me flirt with more Angarans, please. And then who else did I talk to? I don't remember who the third person was.
Kaitis, maybe?
Oh, yes, I talked to Kaitis, who expressed his concern about Sloane and like knows that not everybody likes Sloane, but Sloane has always had his back and is his oldest friend, and like you can see that Sloane
I ship Kaitis and Sloane so hard.
Right, like
they're so cute.
Sloane is the head and Kaitis is the heart. Is clearly the dynamic.
They're so cute together. I talked to all those people too, but I also talked to more people than just 3. I also talked to a Turian who's kind of like wringing his hands in the corner. He's like, I did something dumb. Turns out that he like put his foot in his mouth with this Angaran girl that he likes, and he tried to make her jealous, and she basically told him to go fuck himself. And he's like, I don't know what to do now. So I told him like, yeah, you're stupid, but you should go tell her how you feel. And he does, and she's very receptive to it. So it worked out, and I was just like, yeah, cute. Also, I saw Umi, the bartender, and she played a game of 20 questions in which for every correct answer, I got a drink. And then for the third, she said, great. Now, do you want to be an experiment? Because I came up with this recipe and I'd like to know if humans can drink it.
Oh, no.
So I love an adventure. I always drink whatever John makes me. So I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. I'll give it a shot. Wink. And it resulted in like getting blackout drunk and dancing on a table.
Amazing. I did not do that.
By the end, I was like, where's Reyes?
Yeah, after speaking to just those 3 folks, I then was like, this blows. Reyes is a jerk. I'm going to go find him. And of course, you find him stealing from Sloane. A 4,000-year-old whiskey or something like that.
No, 645 years, triple distilled whiskey. 4,000, Matt?
Why not? He's human, but like there are non-humans out here who live a really long time.
My God. So, because you haven't been flirting with him the whole time, did you take the impulse trigger to punch him?
So, I didn't take it anyway. We just hid.
You hid?
Yeah, we hid.
Okay.
Do you not get that option if you flirt with him?
If you flirt with him, your impulse trigger is not punching him, it's to kiss him.
Got it. Yeah. I didn't take the impulse trigger. I heard in the back of my mind you echoing not every impulse trigger is good and not everyone should be taken. And so I was like, maybe I won't punch him. Maybe something really bad will happen. But also like violence isn't always the answer. Maybe if it were like Drac, someone I knew really well, I'd probably punch Drac and he'd laugh at me. Or he'd go the other way and really oversell it, like bad dramatics.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't punch him. We just hid. Did you kiss him?
I did.
How'd that go?
Yeah, it went all right. We stole the whiskey and we ran away.
We also stole the whiskey, even though I didn't punch him.
Yeah. And then I really liked this post-party scene with Reyes, where you're sitting on top of a structure and you're passing the bottle back and forth, and you're talking about why you came to Andromeda. And it's this moment of honesty and vulnerability with him, whether you're being platonic or you're being romantic. Yeah. Because you can tell him, like, it's been a rough ride, it's had its ups and downs, it's an adventure. He tells you, no matter what, that he came to Andromeda to be somebody. And that's such a poignant thing to me. Like, when we leave home, when we strike out on our own, isn't that what we're all trying to do? We're trying to be someone.
Yeah.
You know? We're trying to be an individual, get out from under our parents, get out from under our hometown, and just grow on her own. And that's what Reyes is constantly trying to do. He's
Yeah.
trying to be his own man. He's trying to grow. And even though we don't get a lot of vulnerability from him, this moment speaks volumes to me.
Sure, yeah. No, I enjoyed this moment too. Reyes has been hit or miss for me. I don't quite know. Well, now I know why. But like before we finished this series of missions, I didn't know why. And like, I don't know if it's just that there were inconsistent moments of writing, or maybe I just wasn't following the thread as well. But like, this was a good moment. It is still a bummer as someone who doesn't drink that you are not given the option to not drink or drink something else. Like, they did that. They didn't really do that in Mass Effect, but I don't think you were ever forced to drink in Mass Effect from what I can remember. You always like had the option to. Whereas in this game, It's the same. For the most part, you don't have that option. It's fine. Like, it's not game breaking. It's not hurting anybody. But like, I don't know. I wish that's clearly someone who there was not a sober person on staff.
Yeah, it hurts your personal immersion.
Sure. Because it seems like such an easy thing to think about. But, people who drink, if you're not someone who's sober, why would you think about that, right?
Yeah.
Which I don't think is necessarily right. We should think of the things that don't affect us, but it is what it is. It's not worth tearing down the walls over.
Yeah, no, I mean, my partner is sober, and ever since we started dating, I have been more mindful about what I drink, when I drink, how much I drink. Like, and I always make sure to check with them to make sure that they're okay with me drinking and that it's not going to negatively impact them. So you don't start thinking like that until either you yourself or someone you care about is in that position, or like kind of puts you in that mindset. And we should be thinking about it more, because nobody owes us an explanation as to why they don't drink or why they don't want to drink. And we should make those options available to them.
Yeah, the wrong question to ask when someone says they don't drink is why. You don't ask that. It's not your business. Yeah. If they want to tell you, it's a different story. But you don't ask. You just go, okay, no problem. That's the correct response.
Like, what can I get you instead?
Right, exactly. But anyway, all that aside, this is a nice moment. And then I was messaging with Frankie. I'm like, well, I finished that. Now it says the mission's on hold. Frankie's like, did you do everything? I was like, I think so. Turns out, with this mission at least, when it was on hold, you just had to go back to the ship, leave the planet, and when you come back down, you can progress the mission. But
you don't even necessarily have to do that. You just have to go to the slums.
Yeah, it's just frustrating that you have to like leave the area for that to happen, because there's no clear indicator for that. Whereas a lot of the other stuff that goes on hold, it's waiting for a certain other mission to trigger it. I guess they anticipate that you would have done some of this stuff the first time you were there and then leave and come back and not necessarily do it all at once like we did. I don't know.
So what I had advised you from the get was the missions under the Settling Kadara list to not leave for last.
Right.
And like leave a mission or two after that. So that way you have some buffer, because if you leave it for last, then you have to like do another mission and then it triggers. So it doesn't work with our model if you leave it for last. So it was fun to figure out when I was mapping out our episodes, let me tell you.
I would imagine. But the final mission we get is things have come to a head. Sloane calls you in to let you know that the charlatan has called her out and wants to meet. And she expects to be double-crossed and wants you to back her up. And my first question as writer is, why? Why me? Like, you hate me. We don't get along. I'm not fond of you either. And she's like, because you don't know the politics here. You have no reason to take a side necessarily. And I trust that you would watch my back.
I have a reason. It's because you suck, Sloane.
Yeah. So, like, that was interesting that Sloane looked at it. I mean, the enemy of my enemy is my ally kind of a thing. But
except we're not enemies with the charlatan.
Right. We don't really know.
The charlatan explicitly doesn't want Ryder hurt.
Yeah. So anyway, you agree. And then you meet her at this cave where the meeting spot is going to be. And this is where some of my complaints come into play. So how this played out for me, and then we'll go from there because I can get my complaints out of the way and you can tell me how it played out for you. You show up and there's Reyes. Sloane's like, Reyes, why are you here? And at this point, of course, I am like, oh, okay, Reyes is the charlatan. That actually makes sense. And so, like, my inconsistency with trusting him now makes a little bit of sense, right? Like, he was hiding the charlatan from you. He was hiding some things from you. It's more obvious now. So that made sense for me. But anyway, they start to talk, and then Sam notifies you that there's a sniper off to the side that's going to take out Sloane, and you get a react command, and you can do something. And I didn't take it. And so Sloane just gets shot and dies. And then you talk to Reyes, and Reyes is, and like, it just like Reyes is like, like, it plays out very aggressively. And then like the conversation later is with Reyes is like, oh, I really want to make something in this town. I care about these people, blah, blah, blah. But there's the lack of softness in this moment. Like, someone who cares about these people would still brutally murder someone without them knowing it's coming in that way. It felt sloppy to me. It felt incongruous. And again, I haven't maybe delved as deep into Reyes as I could have, but it just felt very halted. Like, all the stuff with Reyes, when you go back to the tavern afterwards and he tells you about how he feels and how he really wants to make something of this town and it's important to him, I believed him, and that was all heartwarming. But then you would hire a sniper to brutally murder someone. It didn't gel with Reyes' character to me. It seemed very out of character for him to do something that extreme.
I find it interesting that you consider a sniper shot to be a brutal murder. To me, it felt very clinical. It felt very, yes, it did feel like cheating because you challenged Sloane to a fair fight, and there was nothing fair about this fight, but it didn't feel brutal. It felt short. It felt, like I said, clinical and clean. And my problem with this moment is I would make the choice to save Sloane, but I wish I could make that choice, but also choose Reyes over Sloane,
Right. I had assumed that if I didn't take that reaction command, that then you side with Sloane and not Reyes, which I didn't want to do.
Right. And I didn't want to side with Sloane either, but if we're sticking with the thesis of this podcast, which is to put ourselves in the position of Ryder, if I see a sniper taking aim at someone in what is supposed to be a fair fight, I'm going to react and I'm going to save that person. That is my gut instinct to pull over and help somebody who is on the side of the road, to stop my shopping to help someone who can't reach something. Like, it is my gut instinct to stop what I'm doing and help another person when I realize that they are in danger. And I hate that the outcome of this is that it means siding with Sloane. I really wish it could have been Ryder taking Sloane down.
Yeah.
And then deciding, like, Reyes is going to take over from here and Sloane's going to be put in jail. Like, there's going to be a coup now.
Yeah. So to be clear, which action did you choose?
So I chose to save Sloane.
And so you end up siding with Sloane.
Right. And I'm not happy about that outcome.
Yeah.
I would have preferred Reyes to be in charge.
Right. And I think that's what mostly feels incongruous to me also. And yeah, maybe brutal murder isn't accurate, but it does feel low down and dirty, and just the antithesis to Reyes' character as, like, he's
See, I don't think it's an antithesis, though. I think that's very much who he is. He proves it again and again, that he's sneaky, that he's a spy, that he is underhanded. Like, the whole thing about the charlatan is nobody knows who the charlatan really is. And it's because he operates in such a cloak and dagger way.
I guess I just didn't feel like he was so underhanded that he would do that. And also, I guess part of it is, like, I felt like I didn't know Reyes, and, like, I chew him out a little bit. But, like, ultimately, the conversation afterwards, like I said, he does seem like he'd be a good leader, and I'm happy with my choice. It just also, Ryder's reaction is very plain. Like, when Sam tells you and you don't take the action, the kill happens.
You just stand there.
Yeah, the kill happens. You stand there, the kill happens, and then you just talk to Reyes, almost like it didn't happen. What I love about the best writing within these games is that you feel the moments. And I didn't feel any of this moment. I didn't feel connected to any of this. I know we try to make decisions as our writer, But like in that moment, I couldn't make that decision because I had made the assumption, and I was correct, that if I didn't let Sloane die, Sloane would stay in charge. And so that was a meta decision, which we try and avoid doing. But I couldn't help it because the game pushed me out of my character because that whole sequence just seems broken. Like it just doesn't seem narratively well done, even if it's consistent to his character. You're right. Like you don't have a lot of options. It's either let someone die and the other person rules, or save them and they still rule. Like, and that just compared to the diversity of options in the other Mass Effect games, especially in most of 3, it's like this feels very either or and black and white in a way that these games usually aren't.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's a morality being assigned here, but I do think that it's a very hard line.
Yeah.
I really wished Reyes had been like a mandatory squad mate almost for all of your Kadara missions.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of your guide on Kadara. He's supposed to be the person who's helping you out here. And I think if he had been with us for a lot of these, like even missions that had nothing to do with him, giving his input, it would have allowed us to get to know him a little bit better.
Yeah.
And also, like I said, I really wish if the choice had been presented to us the way that the Reika versus the Krogan Scouts choice had been presented to us, I would have just chose Reyes.
Yeah.
But because there was this impulse trigger attached and I was given the option to save Sloane, that is what I chose to do because that is what I, as a person, would do.
Right.
And I would not be thinking about who is going to be sitting on the throne at the end of all this.
Yeah. I think ultimately this series of actions betrays both of our ability to play as us in a way, in an authentic way that we would have the whole way through.
I think I was as authentic as I could be,
Right.
given the way that these choices shook out.
Right.
I do also feel like all the moments that we experienced with Reyes are designed to show us his flaws and his heart.
Yeah.
Like we see how intense he gets about solving the murder. We see him get in trouble with his greed with the other smugglers. And we also like see determination and human longing, and he has so much dimension, and I think he was wasted as an NPC in this way, and he could have been a really good squad mate.
No, I agree. And I think also further, like it's wasted because that final moment doesn't let you make a calculated decision out of discussion based on everyone's character. You have to make an impulse decision that takes the control away from you, which, I mean, games, it's important that games do that too. But I think in this moment, it was definitely wasted. It made you then act as you would and still not get the kind of logical outcome that you would move towards. And it made me step away from my character to make a meta decision, all because of how sloppy the tail end of this was.
Also, doesn't this reflect life in a way as well? Because even if we make the best decision for ourselves, it doesn't always turn out to be the best decision overall.
Of course.
Like we can't live in a perfect world and make every good decision and have every perfect outcome. It's just not possible.
For sure. I think it's more that you know, based on what you've said, like we're not happy with how the decisions play out because of how they're telegraphed. It's not necessarily the result. The result is what the result is. You can't see the future, but the lead up just felt, especially in this final standoff, very nebulously connected to the rest of it. I think we either needed more time with Reyes as a party member, or just like this end bit to be fleshed out a little more rough and tumble, and less just someone dies or not.
Yeah. I think what the intention is not that you do all of the quote settling Kadara missions like in a row, that you like do a bunch of missions in between each one. But it's hard to manage that, especially if you're the kind of person to check things off of a list. A lot of game players are. They'll look at their list and they go down it. I try to like just go with what's closest to me on the map. So I'm a little more freeform, but, you know, I also like checking things off of the list.
Same. But after this, you are able to finally settle Kadara Port and Kadara more broadly. And when you talk to Addison essentially says nothing short of, "Look at the balls on you." Which I think is non-gendered balls, non-derogatory balls.
Yeah.
Like, And I love
Your
that.
spiritual balls.
Right, your spiritual balls.
The balls of the soul.
But like, I love that Addison gives you more begrudging respect with every positive outcome. Which of the two options for the conclusion did you choose? I chose the bringing stability option.
I chose this is the real frontier.
Yeah, which was the other option. Yeah, which, I mean, both are fine. It's just how politically Addison's going to spin it, essentially. Which writers pretty much like, good luck.
Have fun. Nah, 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 nah. I do like Kadara as a planet. I do think that it's interesting. I think it's very visually stunning.
Yeah.
It's a cool place.
I like Kadara as a planet. I still don't love exploration in this game like I should. I like parts of it, but a lot of it still kind of feels like a chore. It's not an impossible chore, but like going between some of the missions, I'm just like, can I just be there already? And like once you have the waypoints, it's better. But like I also still don't really love the Nomad, even with the upgrades. I don't know why. I think it's more that I'm just used to the nightmare that the Hammerhead and the Mako is. Not that they're better in any way, but anyway, yeah. I mean, but I didn't mind the planet. I do like the town, and I do like the characters here. It feels like it has more life than a lot of the other planets that we visited. More character.
Oh, speaking of characters, did you encounter any interesting characters that you might want to talk about?
I don't think I did, based on your facial expressions.
Maybe next time you play, you should stop back at Kadara and go to Tartarus, the bar in the slums.
I've been to the bar.
Oh yeah, did you speak to one of the dancers there?
I did a mission where I had to help some guy who was imprisoned with the dancer.
Yeah, that's not who I'm talking about.
I know. Yeah, I didn't explore all the dancers at Tartarus.
Do you want to know, or do you want to find out for yourself?
You can tell me. I'll go back eventually.
Conrad Werner's sister.
Really, is one of the dancers?
Yep.
That's just okay. I don't know. I don't know where I fall on some of the fan service here. It's like what we talked about with Zaid's son.
Yeah.
Like some of it just feels a little forced. I'll have to go experience that, but it sounds forced and just like for the heck of it. But okay, sure. Why not?
Also, Rensis from the first murder that we solved on the Nexus, he made his way to Kadara Port.
I did encounter him in the bar, yeah. And he eventually thanks you for sending him there because they're much happier now than they ever were.
Yeah.
Interesting. Anyway, that puts a bow on Kadara. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't mind the missions here. I'm still I'm still net positive, as our friend Pat likes to say. I'm net positive on the whole game so far still, but I'm definitely starting to see the seams and the complaints and some of the things that people don't like. But the characters are still 10 out of 10. I'm enjoying my crew. I'm enjoying the main narrative, and I'm enjoying a lot of the small character moments.
So one of the things that we encounter in Kadara is the lack of morality assigned to choices. Do you feel like not having a morality to rely on impacts the way that you make decisions?
No, because I'm making decisions based on my thought process, and some of them are emotional, some of them are logical. I like that diversity of choice. I do think that the reaction moments being devoid of morality is a little nebulous, but that's, I don't think, a bad thing, right? Because making them Renegade and Paragon triggers ties a morality to them. And again, I'll say, anyone who doesn't kill Kai Lang is a cop. Like, there's nothing renegade about that action. It's just fact. But like, I don't know. I think I like it, but the jury's still out on how much I enjoy it. But I think it's a logical evolution of that system to take away the morality, because also like the Paragon Renegade system was created at a time where there were morality systems in like every game, and they are very black and white in a way that I don't like. Whereas in this game, there's less of that, obviously.
So I feel like you are also becoming less impulsive because there is a lack of morality assigned to the triggers. Do you think that that's true?
I'd say so far, since I've taken one of the 3 or 4 that we've had. But we'll see.
Okay. I'd be curious to know how you feel about your impulsiveness as we proceed.
Yeah, it's definitely something worth revisiting towards the end.
Oh, also, Matt, are you spending your AVP?
Yes, every time Sam yells at me when I get back on the ship. So yes.
Good. Just making sure that you're not missing out on any special goodies. That being said, I have some advice for you as we move on to Elodin.
Please do.
I repeat, do not fight the worm.
Sure.
Don't fight it.
I don't know what this means, but I won't.
Just don't fight the worm.
Are we secretly going to Dune? Are we going to be in Dune in the next planet? Anyway.
And my other piece of advice is to pack sunscreen.
Sure. If the game lets me, then I will.
Just, it's gonna get spicy, so.
Okay.
Gotta protect your skin.
Okay.
You wanna do something fun?
Yes, please.
Why don't you pick a character?
I mean, I feel like I have to pick Reyes. Just after all this talk of him, I feel like I have to pick him.
All right. What is something you love so much you would commit a crime for it?
My spouse.
Aw, that's so gay.
Yeah, I know it's gay. I would commit a crime to help save or defend my spouse.
That's rich, because you definitely would not commit a heist for me or
again,
Jeff.
This is an inside joke that literally no one else knows what you're on about. So,
well, you know what? I'm going to explain it. Matt confessed that he would not commit a heist for myself or Jeff Moonen, his other co-host of Fun and Games. And after 14 years of friendship.
Look, I was trying to be cheeky and mostly just pissing them off. So I stand by it because it worked.
I'm so hurt.
What is something you love so much that you would commit a crime for it?
Gotta think about this for a moment. I keep coming back to books.
Okay.
Like,
if books were outlawed, you would commit crimes to bring books to the world.
Yeah. Like,
you'd become the Robin Hood of books.
That would be the Blue Jay, actually. The Blue Jay is the Robin Hood of books.
Okay.
That is an Inkheart reference for any Cornelia Funk fans out there. But yeah, I keep coming back to books. I love books and stories so much that I would break laws against stories just to share them with people, to enjoy them, to love them. I think that is not quite the answer that I envisioned when I wrote this question, because I think this question was inspired by John saying that he would commit a crime for his mother's pecan pie.
Okay.
And I think that's more the kind of answer that I was thinking about, but I don't have anything like that.
The us two dum-dums just gave heartfelt answers instead.
Yeah.
Well, that's surprisingly sweet and heroic, so I like it.
Nah.
Well, before we put a button on
this... Oh, you know what? I have a sillier one.
Okay.
I would commit crimes for Reed Calloway and his original art pieces, because his art is so good. And I keep saying, when am I going to get my own original Calloway?
Nice. All right. Hell yeah.
I'd steal that from a museum.
Well, that puts a button on this episode. In our next episode, we'll be visiting Elodin, the home planet of the Krogan colony. So I'm sure I'll be taking Drac on that one for sure.
If you like what you heard here, follow us on social media. We're at ReignitePod on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Facebook.com/ReignitePod, or you can send us an email at reignitepod@gmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at iHoardLibraries and Matt at DJ_Stormageddon. And also, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcatcher. It helps us get seen so other people can find us. Speaking of which, Matt, have we checked our reviews lately?
Yep, no new ones.
I definitely have not.
I check regularly.
Okay, good. As long as one of us is doing it.
But if you do rate or review us and either call it out or eventually we'll see it on our own, we will read that rating or review on the podcast. So please do that. We're also members of the Certain Point of View Podcast Network. You can go to certainpov.com for more nerdy podcasts, each with a unique point of view. You can also find a permanent invite link to our Discord server on the website and join in the conversation. We are still posting about Mass Effect there pretty frequently. Mostly it's the stuff we want to buy or the decisions that BioWare is making that make me nervous. But beyond that, definitely come hang out. We talk about video games, TV, movies, comic books, and all sorts of other cool stuff.
We need to talk about how mad I am that their new product is a lithograph of the teaser poster and absolutely nothing new.
Yeah, it's
I'm so angry.
It's very frustrating.
Anyway, if you are enjoying our Andromeda shenanigans here, then you should catch me over on Archives of the Dragon every other Monday, where my spouse, Professor John Bradley Lestrange, leads us through the wild unknown outside the Helios cluster in Andromeda. It's super gay. It's super fun. You can find that at twitch.tv/Arc of the Dragon.
You can also find everything that I do at djstormageddon.com. Tons of podcasts, Twitch streaming, find my merch page, my Ko-fi, all sorts of other cool stuff. Also, I just want to shout out our good friend Jeff Moonen, who we mentioned before, my co-host on Fun and Games. When you are listening to this, if you are listening to this on the day it came out, tomorrow, and then for those who are listening past that, Friday, after this episode aired, we had Frankie on as a guest to talk about our adventures at PAX East, talk a little bit about what we saw, what we did, what we loved, all of that good stuff. So definitely go check that out. Also, if you're here because you saw our panel at PAX East, A, thank you for tuning in. We're glad you're here. B, we will be airing that panel in this feed at some point. We're still waiting on the audio, but as soon as we get that, we're probably going to release it between main releases, but we'll see. It depends on the timing. We might actually just make it a numbered entry in the season. We're still figuring that out. But we promise that you will get to hear the panel within this feed and the Fun and Games feed very soon.
Yeah. That's all I have to say about it.
Yeah, I know.
We'd like to thank Red Spinks for our It's Okay to Be a Marshmallow t-shirt on Redbubble featuring our favorite marshmallow, Kaden Alenko, though Jal is coming for his title. You can find more of his work at Chaos Does Art on Instagram.
We'd also like to thank Carter's husband for developing more amazing t-shirts that you can find over at certainpov.com or on the Certain POV Teespring.
Thank you to David Boyle for redesigning our logo like a champ. And lastly, thank you to JT Music and Andrea Storm Caden for our new theme music. I'm Frankie.
And I am Matt A.K. Stormageddon.
Good luck, Pathfinders.
Life is a mystery. Everyone must stand alone. I hear you call my name, and it feels like home. Feels like home.
Video games are a unique medium.
They can tell stories,
Immerse us in strange, fantastic worlds.
blur the very boundaries of our reality.
But at the end of the day, video games are fun. Whatever fun is to you.
I'm Jeff Moonen,
And I am Matt A.K. Stormageddon.
and on Fun and Games, we talk about the history, trends, and community of video games.
It's a celebration of all the games we play and all the fun we find within them.
And there's so many more games out there, so we hope you'll share in that conversation with us.
Fun and Games podcast with Matt and Jeff. Find us on certainpov.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
And happy gaming.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.